Hello all. Wanted to make a couple of quick videos for you that y'all asked for. So the first one is an objective 3, simplifying square roots. So we kind of assume that this is a prerequisite skill, and there are a couple of different ways that you can use to simplify square roots. But the way that I want you to do this is by going to the prime factorization. So step one, I want you to use a factor tree to find the prime factorization of the number under the radical. And I'll go through what that looks like if you don't know what I mean by that. After you use a factor tree and you find your prime factorization, you're going to identify pairs of factors under the radical. And then each pair under the radical changes to one copy of the number outside the radical. And then the last thing that you're going to do is you're going to multiply everything inside and everything outside the radical. And you will be simplified. Okay, so let's try this. Okay, so let's start with number 1 here. The square root of 108. Okay, so we're going to start with the prime factorization of 108. So I'll do it over here. 108, I need two things that multiply to 108. You can play in your calculator if you'd like to. I know that 9 times 12 gives me 108. So now that I've broken 108 into a product of two numbers, I'm going to now look at each number at the end of the branch to see if it can be broken down further. And if it's just 1 in itself, you're done. Um, if it's anything else other than 1 in itself, then you can break it down however you like. So 9, I know that can be broken down into 3 times 3. And then 3 can only be itself in 1. And so those are the end of the line. And I know 12 can be broken down further. You can either do 4 times 3 or 6 times 2. You'll get the same answer either way, so it's up to you. I'm going to do 2 times 6. All right, we'll look at the numbers at the end of each of these branches. 2, I know I'm done. It's just 1 and 2. But 6 can be broken down further into 2 times 3, and this is the end of the line. Okay, so now 108 can then be written as the product, that means the multiplication of all of these things at the ends of the branches. So 108 is going to be 3 times 3 times 2 times 2 times 3. You can write these in any order. I'm just kind of going left to right with the way that I have these written. Okay, so that's the prime factorization of 108. Now I'm looking for pairs. So I know I have a pair of 3s right here, and I have a pair of 2s right here. So each of these pairs is going to create one copy outside. So 2 outside create, or sorry, 2 inside creates 1 outside. So this pair of 3s inside is going to create 1 3 outside. This pair of 2s inside will create 1 2 outside. And this 3 stays in here. It doesn't have a pair, so it's stuck under here. And so now to simplify, we're going to multiply everything on the outside. 3 times 2 is 6. And we're going to multiply everything inside. The only thing I have is 3. So I know that 108 is 6 times the square root of 3. All right, go ahead and try 300 on your own. And when you're ready, come back and hit play. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to start by breaking 300 into its prime factorization. So I know that 3 is 100 times 3. 3 is the end of the line, but 100 can be broken down into 10 times 10. And each of these can be 2 times 5. 2's the end of the line. 5 is also the end of the line. So that means I can write 300 as the square root of 2 times 5 times 2 times 5 times 3. And so now I'm looking for my pairs. So I have a pair of 2's and I have a pair of 5's. So the pair of 2's inside will create 1, 2 on the outside. The pair of 5's inside will create 1, 5 on the outside. And then I have a 3 left underneath. So overall, this becomes 10 times the square root of 3. All right. And then we can also do this with variables. Now this one's a little different because I can't break x to the 5th and y to the 4th down in factor trees like this, but we can figure out what it means as far as what exponents mean. So x to the 5th means x times itself 5 times. And y to the 4th means I've got y times itself 4 times. And so once we have it written out like this, now we're just looking for pairs. Pair of x's, pair of x's, pair of y's, pair of y's. And so then each of these x's creates, so this creates 1x on the outside, this creates 1x on the outside, this creates 1y on the outside, this creates another y on the outside, and then I have this poor lonely x hanging out inside. And so overall, when I combine everything, I've got x squared times y squared on the outside and a square root of x left. So you can just kind of use what exponents mean to simplify these guys. Cool. And then when you're simplifying products of square roots, when you have square roots times square roots, the first thing that I want you to do is simplify what you're given. So I want you to simplify the given roots first. So I don't want you to go guns blazing and start combining everything because your numbers get bigger and they get harder to work with. I want you to start by simplifying first. And then once you simplify what you have, then I want you to combine the simplified radicals into a single radical by multiplying everything on the outside and everything inside under a single radical. Hopefully that'll make sense when we do it. And then after you kind of combine everything into a single radical, you'll multiply the outside stuff and you'll combine everything inside under a single radical. Then what you're going to do is simplify the new radical by removing any pairs. And then you're going to multiply everything outside and inside to simplify. Okay, so let's try this with number 1. So the first thing that I'm going to do with the 3 times the square root of 20 times the square root of 24, I'm going to simplify what I'm given. So I'm going to have to break down 20. Let's see, that's 4 times 5, and then 4 can go to 2 times 2. And so I know 3 times the square root of 20 is going to turn into 3 times the square root of 2 times 2 times 5. And the square root of 24, let's break down 24. That becomes 6 times 4. 6 is 3 times 2, and 4 is 2 times 2. So then 24 becomes 3 times 2 times 2 times 2. And now I'm going to look for pairs to simplify what I have. I have a pair under this one and a pair under this one. So that means, so for this guy, I'm going to have 3 times 2 on the outside and then a 5 underneath. Here, let me make this 2 should be red because it came from that pair right here. Just trying to keep this organized for you. And then this second one, this pair of 2s is going to create a 2 on the outside. And then I've got the square root of 2 times 3 left. So now we have to combine this into a single radical. Everything on the outside stays on the outside. Everything on the inside goes inside a single radical. You're just literally going to combine everything. Outside goes to outside, inside goes to inside. And then now you're going to look at your new radical and say, do I have any pairs under there? Because sometimes you'll have a number from here and a number from here that'll make a new pair, even though they weren't pairs in their own. We don't have that situation. We have no more pairs under here, so I'm simplified. So then you just multiply outside. So 3 times 2 is 6 times 2 is 12. And multiply here, 5 times 2 is 10, times 3 is 30. So we have 12 times the square root of 30 is the simplified version of what we had before. All right, so let's try it again over here. 12 breaks down into 4 times 3. 4 is 2 times 2. And then 48 is, I'm going to do 4 times 12. 4 is 2 times 2. Let's see, 12 is 4 times 3. So I've got 2 times 2, and then that should be it. Okay, so the square root of 12 becomes the square root of 2 times 2 times 3. And then I'm going to multiply that by 4 times the square root of 48 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Sorry that this is getting a little cramped. Okay, pair time. So we'll take here and here and here are my pairs. So then, yeah, I want to do this. Okay, and so then when I rewrite this, this pair of 2s makes a 2 out here. And then I have the square root of 3 left. And then I have times 4 over here. This pair of 2s makes a 2. This pair of 2s makes a 2. And I've got the square root of 3 left. Now I'm going to combine. All the stuff on the outside stays on the outside. So I've got 2 times 4 times 2 times 2 on the outside. And then under the radical, I'm going to combine these two under a single radical, which is 3 times 3. Now I'm going to look for pairs under my new radical, and I have one. And so now I can combine these guys. And so I've got 2 times 4 times 2 times 2. And then this pair of 3's underneath creates a 3 on the outside. And then I have nothing left under my radical. So I don't have a radical to write anymore. So everything is now simplified, and I just have to combine the stuff out here. So 2 times 4 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32, times 3 is 96. So after all of that, those guys multiply to 96. Okay, so hopefully that helps with radicals. Go forth and have a radical time. I will see you next time.